Hey, I want to get into everything, but first I'm just going to tell everybody. All right, everyone, this is Lauren Eyrich. I'm super excited. She's an intuitive eating coach, and you'll have to explain to me what IFBB is, but she's also a bodybuilder. You were a bodybuilder before, Bikini Olympian, and now you're just like teaching women to like live their best life, which is what I'm all about.
Yes, yes. The IFBB is the International Federation of Bodybuilding, and so that's part of the bodybuilding thing. That's the professional league. So
Got
that's what
it.
that
Okay.
means.
We're pro bodybuilder here, guys. All right. So, but first, I want to tell everybody a little bit. So, Lauren and I met. I honestly think that we probably said two sentences to each other at the Now Foods. We met at the Now Foods influencer immersion, which was awesome, and it was so great. And literally, I think we talked like right before we were like getting on the bus to the airport, or like getting off the bus to go to the airport. So we didn't really get a chance to talk about anything. But of course, everyone was following each other and everything. And I started following you, and I like fell in love with your profile. I was just like, this girl
Oh,
is.
thank you.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm so interested in all the things that you're doing, because you have clients that you're basically transforming, and I'm watching, how they're going from like, 1,500 calories or 1,700 calories to like 2,300 calories, and their bodies just look amazing.
Yeah.
And so I feel like this is such a huge thing, especially as a nutritionist, because I'm a certified nutritionist. We're not taught anything about like reverse dieting or whatever. So I felt like I really thought that my community would be interested in what you had to say. And I am very interested in this because, when you do nutrition, I have my master's in nutrition, and when you go that certification route, it's really just about, you have calories, and the basic thing is like, if you want to like lose weight, then you just, exercise more, eat less, and that's kind of what you do. And this is like the opposite. So that's why I'm so interested.
Yeah, very much so, right? That kind of, more traditional education route is just calories in, calories out. If you're going into other fields of nutrition, it might really be about what sources to get those foods from and things like that. But, I had a really interesting journey with bodybuilding that definitely threw my health for a loop. But that being said, bodybuilding really taught me a lot about this reverse dieting, or that diet periodization of increasing the intake to get the results that you really want to, that most people want to get, right? Because oftentimes people are operating from a place of this calories in, calories out. Well, I must not be doing it right. I must need to work harder. I must need to eat less and exercise more. And that really sets people up for an unhealthy and unsustainable cycle really, really quickly. And I think that's what we see a lot. That's the gain, or the lose 10 pounds, gain 15 back.
Right, exactly. And for someone like me who, I've talked very openly about the fact that I used to have an eating disorder, I feel like it is so counterintuitive, right? To think like, well, first of all, it took a long time for me to understand that like food is my friend.
Yeah.
And food is their tool. You know what I mean? And not to be like constantly restricting and fighting with my body. And I finally feel like now at 42 years old, I'm in a good place. I definitely feel like sometimes I will, if I'm getting really stressed, or, if I'm kind of in a place in my life where I'm at some sort of crossroads or whatever, I can see myself slipping into those habits again. Not often at this point, not often, but I still think that, it's so important. It's so important to teach people about just feeding your body fuel when it needs it, really healthy stuff. There's space for everything in your diet. That's what I really try and tell people. There's space for everything in your diet. Like, you want that chocolate cake? You can have that chocolate cake. You may not want to have it every single day, but like, you can have it every Saturday or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, there's space. There is space.
Yeah. And the more permissive you are with that, right? That like, deprivation leads to desire. So if you're depriving and no chocolate cake, can't have it in the house, can never have it. It's right. Like, as soon as you see the chocolate cake then at the party or wherever it is, that's when people are like, oh, I just lost control. And then this, I'm like, well, yeah, what would it be like though if you made the space, if you had it when you wanted to, you would create an actual relationship with it, not one that's just like really tight and you're trying to white knuckle through it. So really, honoring yourself and your needs.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I have so much that I want to talk to you about with this. First, though, you're in Mexico right now?
I'm in Mexico right now.
Okay. Well, I'm in Boulder, Colorado, and it's like 20 degrees outside. And you're just like in a tank top. She's like living her tan. She's living her best life. I'm like, go.
I am living my best life. Yeah. I was in Portland for the holidays for a little bit to do some house sitting and whatnot. I typically live outside of the United States.
You live outside of the U.S. for a long time, like all the time?
That's what I've been doing for the last couple of years. I just can't. Oregon is so gray and so cloudy. It's a little rough on me, and that was a big part of my healing too. So.
Oh, okay. Wow. Wow. So do you have like a place in Mexico and you just stay there or what?
No, I'm just using Airbnbs and things like that, just bopping around.
That's amazing. And then so you pretty much practice and do see your clients and everything, what, over Zoom?
Yeah, I do it all online. And I've actually, a lot of people switched to online in 2020 because of the pandemic, but
Right.
I've been working online in 2014. So for me, there was no transition. Yeah, it was
That's
great.
awesome.
It was
That's awesome. So explain a little bit about, give me a little timeline here about the bodybuilding and where that it came in for you and how you got interested in bodybuilding and how it, kind of put you to where you are today.
Yeah, for sure. So I've always been a lifelong athlete, and at some point I came from a more restrictive background with eating disorders and things like this. My story is not unique. They're so prevalent in women. It's really sad. And I know that it's really relatable though, and that's why I share, is because I think it's something that unfortunately a lot of women can relate to. And I got to the point where, I was at my smallest, 93 pounds, and just really, really struggled. And at some point I started working out and lifting weights, which is really nice. I had actually been dating a trainer and we started working on that. And my body changed, but I still didn't have a good relationship with food. And to be honest, my body still didn't look the way that I wanted it to look. So I felt like I'm putting in all of this time, effort, and energy at the gym, but I've really hit a plateau and things aren't changing. I'm not getting stronger. My body looks the same. Like, I have to be missing something here. And so eventually what I ended up doing was hiring my own nutrition coach. And I got really, really lucky because, you can have people that are putting people on really restrictive diets and things like this. I got very lucky. And so I was working with somebody that was really using this food as fuel, and so that I could grow, so that I could get stronger, so that I could change my body and see those results that I wanted. And everything just sort of took off from there. I started competing. I really went whole hog on that to a very unsustainable and unhealthy level. And then that also transitioned me into a really holistic, just viewpoint, right? Really looking at the whole aspect of it, not looking at it from a bodybuilding lens anymore. And yeah, looking at macros as a tool to eventually get into intuitive eating and just really, really holistic, right? More inclusive rather than exclusive, not depriving yourself, using food as a form of self-love and self-nourishment, like really alleviating that stress and not maybe focusing as much on the aesthetics as just those practices in general. Because, if your body's in a healthy and happy place, it's likely that you'll end up in a healthy and happy place. Like, either your feelings about your body will change or your body will settle into a different way because you're not depriving yourself, which will then lead to these cycles of binge and restrict and things like that we see a lot of.
And that's a good point. I truly believe that if people are, eating the way that they're supposed to eat for their body, whatever works for their body in terms of, the food that they're putting in, that, some people do really well with, vegan, vegetarian diets. Some people don't. Some people do well with time restricted eating. Some people don't. I mean, all over. I think that if people are really focused on just themselves, not everything that they're hearing out there. I mean, there's so much in the media about, oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this. Oh, my friend told me I should start taking this or that. It doesn't work. Like, you need to know your body and work with your own body and experiment with yourself, right? Like, maybe your friend doesn't eat dairy, but maybe dairy is like a great source of protein for you, and and your body does well with it, so you should have. And I think that when you do those things, your body will just come to its natural way. You will just be naturally what you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And you will thrive. You will thrive in whatever that weight is. And it's not even that the weight and the numbers matter, right? It's just the feeling, right? It's the feeling of health. And you'll know you have healthy hair, you have healthy healthy nails, all of those little things.
Oh gosh, my hair and nails totally transformed when I quit bodybuilding and started focusing on health. And I mean, it's not a goal weight, it's a goal feeling. And I think I just want to expand upon what you said, which is what works for someone else might not work for you. And people are just inundated with information. It's info overload. So they're like, wait, do I eat carbs or do I not eat carbs? Do I not eat them after 7 p.m. or 8 p.m.? Or, okay, I heard nuts are a healthy fat or avocado is a healthy fat, but I have to be careful with how much I eat. And it's very overwhelming for people. So I think there's just some solid foundational pieces that are really good guidelines for people. And then from there, it's all about you tuning in with yourself to figure out what feels good and what doesn't feel good, right? Yeah, like dairy is a great example. Some people thrive on it. I love it, but I don't thrive on it. And so that's not something that I have in my diet regularly. So it's not a one size fits all. It's very individual, and you can't really outsource that. You've got to pay attention to yourself.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And so in your, I guess in your practice, what do you tell people that the general guidelines are? I'm curious to hear.
You need to eat, and you need to eat regularly, right?
Eat food.
Eat food. You gotta eat. You know, I was one of those people too, where because you eat, a lot of women are eating so low calorie, 1200, 1400, maybe 1600. I see 14 to 1600 a lot. And when they see my clients eating 2000 or above, they're like, my body doesn't work like that. I felt the same way. My body doesn't work like that. It's not true. And if that is true, you probably have something else systemic going on with gut health or hormonal health or something like that. And weight loss shouldn't be your focus. Your focus should then be on restoring overall harmony and health in your body. But yeah, it's just those main foundational pieces are eating enough consistently throughout the day to help balance blood sugar, protein at every meal for sure. Ideally protein, carb, which is a source of fiber, and fat at every meal, so very well balanced, and eating to satiety. So another big thing that I eat and that I used to be guilty of myself is just eating just enough just to quell my hunger, right? So if you're feeling hungry, it's like, well, what's the smallest thing that I can eat so my stomach just shuts up? So that
like from the Devil Wears Prada, she was just like, whenever I feel like I'm gonna fall over, I just like eat a cube of cheese. Like that, right?
It's that. Yeah. Like what can I do just so that I don't pass out, basically? Like I'll have my little tiny yogurt or whatever it might be, but it's not a meal, or it's, you know, people are lacking protein or the fiber, the things that really help you thrive. And I think people even underestimate, you know, I work with a lot of active women. I'm surrounded by a lot of active women, and, you know, we're burning a lot of calories, but even without that, you just need it for your day to day, for your brain to show up for your job, kids, life.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, I love that. I think that's great. So I want to move into reverse dieting a little bit, because it's a term that I don't know much about. And I think a lot of people don't know much about, unless they're kind of working with someone like you who's really working on, you know, the true transformations and kind of retraining the brain into eating again. Because I think that that's what a lot of women probably need right now, right? It's like a retrain, like I can eat food. It is okay to live in my body and have curves and, you know, have the body that I'm meant to have. So talk to us a little bit about reverse dieting and exactly what it is, how you do it, and how you've seen these transformations. It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, I think you hit on such a great, if we have time, we'll go in that direction, or maybe another conversation for another day, but like it's okay for me to have curves, or what my body should, we really hang on to this old idea of, you know, maybe looking like what we should look like when I can't stand those commercials that say like, I'm high school skinny again. I'm like, do you want to look like a 16-year-old girl? I don't want to look like a 16-year-old girl. I'm a 33, almost 34-year-old woman. I want to look like a woman. So, you know, it's a whole societal thing. But anyway, so the reverse dieting process is, you know, I like to tell people it's kind of as simple as it sounds, where you think of dieting by restricting, and reverse dieting is the opposite of that. So it's usually what I do with people is slowly and strategically increase their intake. And there are some factors that go into that. So, you know, everybody is comfortable increasing their intake at different rates. Typically what I do is I start a little bit more slowly, right? We'll increase carbs, we'll increase fat. Carbs are a great one because it can decrease your cortisol, help your digestion, and give you more energy. And so once people start to have these positive effects, side effects from eating more carbohydrates, they're like, great, let's go. I look better. My muscles are more filled out. So I look more toned. I have more energy. My digestion's better. Oh my goodness, I'm sleeping better. I don't need that second cup of coffee in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And so they get excited and they see what food is really doing for them. And then we can just, take off running from there and start to increase their intake until it's really at an adequate amount for them. Every once in a while, there are still people that, because I'll just give a common scenario where they're eating 1,400 to 16 calories. So their intake's pretty low on this kind of scale. And their output, their cardio and their exercise might be pretty high because they're trying to lose weight. So what I do is I increase the intake while decreasing the expenditure. So it's that inverse relationship so that your intake's going up and your output is going down so that you have a positive energy balance. So people would say, oh, now I'm in a surplus or I'm going to maintenance. Yes and no. Maintenance isn't static.
Weight at that point, right? I mean, people are worried about gaining weight at that point, right?
Exactly. People are very worried about gaining weight. I don't want to gain weight. I don't want to gain weight. And I always tell people, okay, I get very brutal. I said, okay, well, here's the thing. It's unlikely that you'll gain weight, but also would you be okay gaining weight, like a couple of pounds because here's the thing, you're already doing a lot of cardio and you're not eating very much. Your other option to lose weight is to do more cardio and to eat less, to do a new stimulus. And it sounds like you're already really struggling to adhere to the current plan that you're on. You're having some binges, you're unhappy, you're hangry, you're tired, you're not sleeping well, all of these things. So trust this process, this reverse diet. Once we get your expenditure low and you're not really doing any cardio and you're at a higher intake, then if you want, and a lot of people just fall so in love with this process and how they feel, they're really happy to maintain there. And a lot of people do lose weight or their body does start to shift in a way that they find more favorable. So more lean muscle mass and tissue and less body fat, right? Because they're finally giving their body what it needs to thrive and to grow and to just relax and know that food is plentiful. Women are very, very susceptible to stress. Our bodies we are much more sensitive.
I know it. I know it. With these three kids drive me crazy every day, girl. I know. Totally. But no, I have a question for you about that. So when you say you're reducing the cardio, are you increasing the strength training?
So that is such a good question because sometimes people, it's ideal. You don't have to increase the strength training with a lot of people. I say, just keep doing what you're doing because you're really working in a deficit right now, or you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Like you're not gaining lean muscle tissue because you're not giving your body enough fuel. So you don't need to increase the resistance training, but continuing on with it is absolutely going to have some positive metabolic effects and help the turnover of the food that you're in using it in that manner. But, some people also say things like, well, I don't know if I should start right now, or I just got injured or things like that. And I say, that's a great time to start to work on your nutrition and some of those things that we talked about, eating well-balanced meals, protein in every meal regularly throughout the day, getting your intake up while you are injured, while you are recovering from surgery, while you're not being as active. Because then, if you do want to enter an intentional deficit, your intake's high and your expenditure has been very, very low. So it will be more effective, that stimulus. Right. And people and that's why we see people that continually diet over and over and over and over, they get more resistant to weight loss over time.
Yeah. That's really interesting. I know. And even just recently for myself, I mean, just like my testimonial here is that I exercise a lot because I love to be active. I really, really enjoy being active. Like it's very rare where there's a day where I'm like, I don't feel like moving today. I mean, it is so rare. And I live in the mountains, right? So it's like I'm hiking all the time. I'm biking. I'm walking the kids to school. I'm, doing strength training. I'm doing all the things. And I noticed that I was getting to the point where my expenditure was so high, right? I was doing so much activity. But I think because I have a very busy life, I'm working, I've got kids, like there's just a lot going on. I don't prioritize food enough. I just don't. I don't have the time to sit down and have like the square meals. And I think as a general matter, I'm more of a grazer. I like to just kind of snack all day, which it's worked for me. It's fine. I also do like to have meals too, but I definitely found that my body was I felt like I was holding on to everything, right? Like I wasn't seeing changes really in my body.
Oh yeah.
And it was, honestly, I'll tell you, the big thing that I've done lately is I've stopped intermittent fasting. I'm just done. I'm not doing it anymore. I know that you talk a lot about that on your page about intermittent fasting. And I will say this, I mean, I needed to heal some gut issues, and I did do that through intermittent fasting. I was doing like a 5-2 fast. So having my two, 20, I would call it more like 22, 23-hour fast. And I'm having, bone broth, green juices sometimes, but mostly bone broth, dandelion tea. That totally helped heal my gut issues within a month or two. That was great. But I think after that point, I should have just stopped and been like, all right, I'm fine. I can go back to food. I was just like, really good doing it this way, so I'm just going to keep going.
I know. That's the thing, is intermittent fasting is it's a health tool, 110%. I think I also was a big intermittent faster for gut health and healing. Yeah. I had really bad leaky gut. It is amazing. It's truly, truly amazing. And to be honest, yeah, once you get used to it, you're like, I feel so great. I feel light, and I just, there's something about it that feels great. However, I had to stop because what it ended up doing was, it helped my gut, but it tanked my thyroid. And so it's, again, going back to that component of so much stress for women. Your blood sugar really impacts your hormones. So your sex hormones and your thyroid and things like that. So it's very interesting because, it might be really beneficial for your gut, and there might be a time and a place for it, but it also might be something that isn't helpful, even if it feels good. And I'm also in that space now. I just had an appointment, a virtual session with someone yesterday to look over my labs. And it's like, I love to run. I love to be active. I love all of those things. But I need to take a step back right now if I'm really going to prioritize the bigger picture and think about longevity and those types of things. So it's, and I know that you do those things too. I'm sure that you love to be active, but I also know that you have some really great mindfulness practices and other activities that help you kind of decompress and calm and center.
Yeah, no, I absolutely do. I mean, for meditation for sure, yoga for sure. Today I'm starting my dance class again today, so I'm super excited. Like dance was good. So we're doing hip hop dancing, and it's like, it's like the right amount of exercise for me, right? It's like, it's an hour, it's stop start, and it's, it's not too crazy. We're just like doing our moves, and, so that feels really good to me too. It feels like restorative. It feels like good active recovery for me. So I really like that.
Yeah.
And so, and interesting too, you were talking about, the hormones and how intermittent fasting kind of tanked your thyroid. Another thing that people don't think about too with female hormones, they are so linked to your fat. They are so linked to the fat composition of your body. If you do not have enough fat, your hormones are so screwed up. And I had this problem before when I got pregnant with my first one. My fat was just too low. I mean, literally, I dialed it back a little bit with the exercise, increased my fat a little, pregnant the next cycle. I mean, I'm telling you, it's amazing. And I think that that's something that women don't think about enough, is that we need the fat for our hormones, for the estrogen. We need it.
I've caught a lot of heat for saying that before, because people say, oh, I'm struggling to get pregnant and this and that. And it's like, it could be your nutrition, and it could be just your overall stress and lifestyle and things like that, things that people, that they don't think it's stressful, and it is. But I was told when I quit competing, I was actually premenopausal and perimenopause already, had no progesterone, and she said, there's no way you would be able to get pregnant right now and have a viable pregnancy. And through the work, through decreasing, doing all of this stuff, I've now gotten my hormones into a healthy range. And so, I don't know why I necessarily catch heat for that, because for me, it's like, what an empowering thing that you have this control over, your vessel and the way that you take care of yourself, and that you're not just at the mercy of what's going on in your body, that what you eat and your lifestyle can 110% impact those things, those labs and levels that we're seeing.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. I don't know why you got heat about that either. It's just the fact. It's just a fact.
Very sensitive topic, apparently. So if they come for you in the comments, I'm like,
So a little bit more about the reverse dieting. So how long does the process take for someone? Let's say they start with you and you're like, all right, I'm going to start shifting things around a little bit. How long, and well, I guess from the time that they start to the time that they start, I guess, seeing results just in, their energy levels, and then seeing results and changes in their body.
Great question. I love this question because there's not a straight answer for it, and it is so unique to the individual. So something to really take into account is somebody's past history with food and dieting. So, you know, there are some people that I work with and they've been in a chronic deficit for years. And, you know, they might have some other issues going on with gut and hormones and things like that. I refer them out to somebody that's specialized in that. I don't do that. I don't read labs. That's not my forte. And, you know, I think or there's people with Hashimoto's, other autoimmune and things like that. Well, the good thing about it is, like, yes, again, back to that empowering piece, is that you can take charge of your health to really start to change those things around. And that's going to be the foundation for your overall healing in conjunction with another practitioner. So some of those people, it's more advanced. They just need to get their intake up, and that's usually a more unique situation. For most people, again, we'll kind of go back to this archetype of the 1400 to 1600 calorie range. And I like to say, let's just take the cues from your body, right? Like, let's be on your body's timeline, because so often we're trying to force the body to be on our timeline, and that our wants and our needs, which are typically arbitrary timelines.
Right.
And so, for example, there's one client, I always love to use her as an example, and I worked with her in the last year. She wanted to lose, I think something like 60 pounds in total. And she is pretty tall. I believe she's about 5'11" or something like that. And her intake wasn't super low. It was very moderate, but I thought, for 5'11", you could eat significantly more. 5'11", active, all of these things. And so she was a little bit on a timeline, but we're increasing her intake every week, and she was losing at least a pound every single week. And so I tried to be really conscientious of her timeline, right? Because she said, oh, I want to work together for, you know, maybe 4 months or something like that. And I just said to her, I said, Eve, this is going so well. I really hate to interrupt this process, because what would happen if we just, you know, you're already losing weight and we're doing such an amazing thing for your body. What happens if we just continue to take the lead from your body? And so for 20 weeks, we did a reverse diet. We got her intake up crazy high, and she lost a pound every single week. And at that point, again, we're going to go back here. Her expenditure was really low. Her intake was really high. And then we went into that intentional deficit. So it ended up being longer than the 4 months, of course, but it ended up being a really sustainable process. So we added a little bit of cardio, brought the intake down a little bit. And, you know, each time you hit a plateau, not just on the scale, but in all the other ways, then you introduce a new stimulus again. And she ended up losing, just about 40 pounds in total. So in a really, you know, it was just a dream. It was a dream to have somebody that really wanted to listen to their body and not be in a rush. And I feel very lucky in that most of the women that reach out to me they're really ready to do that. They're like, okay,
yeah,
I've tried to be very,
I'm done.
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. I've tried to be very forceful. It's not working. I'm ready to work smarter instead of harder. So, you know, I always say for most people, even if we're on an expedited timeline, probably a very minimum of 8 weeks in a reverse. It depends on, you know, are you eating 1,800 calories and could we scoot you up more? Or are you eating 1,200 calories and we definitely have to get you up? And then, you know, once you get up to that higher intake of 2,000 plus, how do you feel? How's your body responding, and how's your mental state at that point? Another big thing is many people, they'll have a weight loss goal of 15 pounds or something like that. And so I'm like, well, we can't necessarily just get your intake right back up just to rip it right back down, right? The point is that the body feels really safe. And I understand the desire to lose weight, but that's different than the ability to lose weight and to be mentally ready to enter that intentional deficit. So, at some point, sometimes I just say, let's part ways for now. I think it's to your benefit to just continue to eat enough food, support yourself, continue all the practices that we've put into place. And then, if you want to work on an intentional deficit together in a few months, I'm here to help you do that. But I really try to prioritize that metabolic health and make sure that people are in a good mental space to do so.
Yeah, that's so great. And so, I just want to touch one more thing. So you said about, you know, when you may see a plateau, you add a stimulus or you change a stimulus. What exactly are you talking about there? Are you talking about more, you know, exercise related things? Are you talking about more, you know, food related things? What are the kind of little tweaks and changes that you make when someone plateaus?
Yeah, I like to do the 1-2 punch is what I call it. So when it's taking down the calories and it's increasing the expenditure. So typically through cardio, it could be your daily steps, things like that. Because oftentimes, and this is one thing that I see a lot, is people say, you know, when they're not lacking willpower, they're lacking strategy. And typically the strategy is, I'm eating whatever. This is another situation too. I'm eating whatever I want. So, you know, maybe 2,000 calories plus. And then suddenly it becomes this, I need to lose weight and I need to lose it like yesterday. So I'm eating 2,000 calories plus. Now I'm doing cardio every single day. And now I'm eating 1,200 calories. So you'll lose weight, but you just went from high intake, low cardio to the opposite.
Yeah.
And this wasn't periodized at all. So when you know, low expenditure, high intake, you can bring the intake down a little bit and the cardio up. Ride that out until you don't see any more changes on the scale, in photos, in the ways that your clothes fit, all of those things, and give it time, give it some time. Once you really hit a plateau, which your body is designed to do, give it a little bit more stimulus. So you could bring down just the food, you could just increase the cardio, or you could do both, which is my preferred preference. But sometimes people don't have space for more activity in their life, or they really enjoy eating more food and doing more cardio or whatever it might be.
Right. And I think, you know, you're making a really good point. It's about gradual changes, people. Like the body is not designed to just be like, whoop, I'm going to flip.
Yeah.
Totally, right? Like, oh, yeah, tomorrow I'm just going to like completely do something different. I mean, you just can't. I mean, you don't start out by running a marathon, right? You have to get there. You got to run your first couple miles, and then you got to, you know what I mean? Then you got to train, and you get a couple, and you know. So I think that's a really important thing, especially nowadays for women specifically to hear, is because the media is literally telling us today caffeine is great, tomorrow it sucks. You know what I mean? Today you got to have your superfoods, tomorrow maybe you could go without your superfoods. I mean, nobody knows what to trust and what to think anymore, and everyone's making these quick changes. The body's just not designed for that. It just isn't.
It's you also have to just give things time to, one day is not enough.
One day enough. Yep.
Yeah. You're trying to, first of all, you have to develop the habits, right? And then from those habits, you're trying to glean out what's working, what's not working. Is this sustainable for me? Do I like doing that? What are the patterns and correlations that I'm seeing? And is this moving in the direction that I want it to move into, or is this not working? So
right. Exactly. All right. One last question about just exercise for you, and then we're going to get into my rapid fire, which is like my favorite part. So, all right. So a little bit about exercise. When you say you're reducing the cardio, well, give me actually a general picture of the average person that comes to you. Are they cardio above 30 minutes? Are they cardio, 45 an hour? Like, where do you, and what do you think is, I mean, just generally speaking, what do you think is kind of a good place for cardio, for exercise?
Yeah, it's sort of, I mean, that's a difficult thing, because if you want to be really strategic and effective with the weight loss, I do believe that's the best thing to do, is to get the expenditure down and the intake up. And so that way the stimulus is really effective. But I totally understand these people that say, well, I just like to run and I like to go hiking on the weekends. And I don't want to say, you need to stop hiking with your family on the weekends if you really want to make this happen, right? Because then you're just like sucking joy from your life. So, I think 30 minutes of moderate intensity activity is what the recommendation is, but everybody is different. So I also really like to just give people a guideline with steps, just getting some walks in every day. It's really helpful for blood sugar after meals. It's very helpful for bloating and digestion. I find that it's really great for decompressing. It's good for stress. But, most women, I would say, they're doing cardio because they feel that they have to. And I really like to separate that.
Most people don't like it. Most people don't really like it. They're just like running on the treadmill and they're like, oh, I kind of hate those. Like, They
don't like it because it's usually what it is a punishment for them.
Right.
I hate this, so now I got to get on here, versus, oh, I just love to move my body. So I think for a lot of people, it's also about reestablishing that relationship with, well, what do you like what do you like to do? Or are you doing this because you feel that you have to? So cardio is definitely a tool. And that's what I usually see, is that most women are doing probably like 3 30-minute sessions a week, you know, on the treadmill, on the stairs, whatever it might be, because they feel that they have to maintain whatever it is that they have going on. I don't see it super high. Every once in a while, I do see those people that, yeah, they're doing 45 minutes to an hour, 5 times a week. They're eating 1,600 calories, and they've absolutely just hit a plateau.
Right, right, exactly. And so do you think that, you know, that the basic, you know, recommendation of 30 minutes 3 times a week, do you normally, when you see somebody, do you normally reduce that and say, well, it's going to be 20 minutes 3 times a week, or it's going to be 15 minutes, or?
Yeah, so I normally reduce it. So if somebody's doing 3 30-minute moderate intensity steady state sessions, usually kind of like running or being on the stairs, what I like to do, I mean, again, it depends on where their intake is and if they're suited to do it, right? HIIT is not a great recommendation for everyone, right? If you've got a lot of extra weight, it's not necessarily very good for you. If you've got heart condition, not necessarily good for you. If you are struggling with cortisol and things like that, not good. But for somebody that's in generally good health, I'm like, oh, let's just move this down a bit, like 3 times 15 minutes of HIIT per week, and then maybe 3 times 8 to 10 minutes of HIIT per week, because there's a lot of great metabolic benefits to that, and it's going to help your cardiovascular system, your metabolism, and also your lifting and your other activities. So there's benefit to it, but I really try to look at it like a tool. And I think that it's something, yeah, that we talked about, is that most people are doing it as a punishment or because they feel like they have to.
Right, right. So interesting. All right, I want to get into the rapid fire. I have one question. This is just like gratuitous, like for me basically, but like how, like since you're a bodybuilder, like how much can you actually lift? I'm just so interested in this. This is like really cool.
Yeah. So the thing with bodybuilding is when people really don't know what bodybuilding is, that's what they're like, so what do? You get on stage and you lift weights. And I'm like, oh no, I just got on stage and I posed and I stood around in a bikini. Like there's people were just judging my body. There's nothing like measurable.
Really, we're just trying.
That's it. It's like a beauty.
Lift anything for the actual, oh wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So it was all just strength training to look a certain way for being on stage. Yeah. Cause whatever I always saw is like people with these like, you know, huge barbells, right? And they're just like amazing amounts of weight. Right. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do that.
Yeah. I mean, I did for a little while some powerlifting, and that's always fun, right? It's fun to focus on what your body can do rather than what it looks like. I always recommend that to people too, when they're really like, let's stop focusing on this number on the scale and start focusing on, you know, do you want to do a pull-up? Do you want to do push-ups? Do you want to go for a mile run without stopping? Is there a certain time, like these other things, to really celebrate what your body can do?
Yeah, that part is so gratifying too. Like I love it when I go up weight. If I'm like on it using a kettlebell and I can go up, I'm like, whoa, that means I'm getting stronger. I love it. It feels so good. It's very satisfying.
Very, very so. Yeah, because you don't get there by accident.
Right. You're trying, right? Exactly.
Yeah.
Like all the time when I'm working out, I'm just like, I'm doing this. I'm just like, I'm so dialed in and so focused, and I want to make sure that I'm getting somewhere.
I'm like, can we just emphasize that I'm doing this? That's what I always tell people. I'm like, look, you took the time to go to the gym. Don't go home and then later go, you know, I wish I would have tried a little bit harder. I wish I would have really, it's like, you're there now, do it now. It's for you. Don't short yourself.
Yep. Concentrated time. I like that. All right. So we are going to do a little rapid fire. Some of these questions are going to, you know, I want to know how you feel about it for other people and for yourself. So for you, actually, eat to live or live to eat?
For me, I just eat to live. Honestly, I know foodies and things like that. And trust me, I do appreciate and enjoy a good meal. I love to do tasting. What's that?
I know you like tacos.
Oh yeah, I love tacos. I do love tacos. But again, it's very, very simple. I do like tacos, but like, yeah, I know some people where I feel like they like live to eat. It's a big thing for them. They want to know all of this stuff, and I can definitely appreciate it. But on my day-to-day, I'm very much just like, I just got to put it in. I have to make sure that I'm eating enough. I've got to do the work. Honestly, if I could take a pill, I would, but.
I'm kind of the same way too, you know, like I'm with you. I'm with you on that. Eat a
Yeah,
lot
when
for
you
sure.
said that you were kind of like a grazer, it's like I don't get, yeah, I don't get super excited about.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh man, I have, usually for me, it's like, all right, I got 5 minutes. I got to like get this whole thing going. Like it's all pretty quick, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Kettlebells or dumbbells?
Oh man. I feel like ah maybe for like I feel like dumbbells are more approachable for a lot of people because I don't know, and but I feel like with dumbbells I can do everything that I would want to do with a kettlebell.
Okay.
Just about, so they're pretty interchangeable.
Okay.
Um,
That could be an answer too.
that's my
Interchange. That could be an answer.
interchangeable. They are fun though, but yeah, I feel like I could do anything with the dumbbells that I wanted to with a kettlebell.
Okay. Heavy weights or light weights?
Moderate weight.
All right.
Moderate weight. I do, just like we were saying, I love feeling strong in my body. I like seeing that progression. But I also feel like, yeah, I mean, I don't want to just be doing light weights, like
Right.
a million reps of anything. So yeah, like moderate. I don't want to be maxing out in powerlifting doing that sense, but you know, just pushing it. We'll say heavy.
Okay. Okay. All right. Active recovery or total rest?
And I feel like we agree on this one too. I am a big active recovery person. Yoga, hiking, walking, things like that. Sometimes it's really good to do total rest though. And that's something that I have been working on with, you know, just having a movie day or, you know, do some chores around the house that you need to do or whatever it is. But I like a good active recovery.
Yeah, same. All right. Okay, so, and we didn't actually get a chance to really get into the macros and all that stuff. And maybe we'll have another chat so we can talk deeply about that. But
Anytime.
counting calories or counting macros? And if
Counting,
anyone know, the macros are, you know, carbs, fats, proteins.
yeah,
That's
counting macros, 110%, 110%. So I always like to use the example of, this was on, oh man, what was the movie? But there was some, was it Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead or something like that? And the guy did the Twinkie diet. And it's like, yeah, you can eat 1,500 calories on a Twinkie diet and you could technically lose weight on that, but you're not going to feel very satiated. You're not going to be very nutritionally sound. There's not a lot of protein, fiber, and that's where this comes into being strategic and why macros can be so powerful is because they impact not only how you look, right? This is where you're really going to get the aesthetic changes that you want, but how you feel, that stable blood sugar, beating those cravings, feeling actually full. So yeah, macros, 110%.
all right. Good. I like that actually. I feel like that's a little bit more, it's easier to attain, right? I think it's difficult for people to count calories. So I think that's good.
Yeah. And
yeah.
I think a step below that too is like, then just again, how we started this whole thing, just get some protein then at every meal. And then the rest will kind of, you know, help fill itself in. So if it's too much, I get for some people, it's not the best thing to count macros. And I'll have a lot of posts coming over the next week about macros versus calories. What are you know, all of these things. And it should help break that down for people as well. But macros make a difference.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Last one, supplements or superfoods?
Ooh, I would probably say this is also a hard one because, you know, it's just it's like, what can you do? What's feasible for you? I'm always going to say whole food sources, just whole food sources. Getting vitamin C from an orange is dramatically different than getting vitamin C from a capsule. There's just different properties that are coming from that whole food source that makes such a difference. And then you're getting fiber and antioxidant, you know,
Yeah.
I'm preaching to the choir here.
Together synergistically in food. I mean, that's what they do, right? They're all there. You didn't have to place them there. You're not picking one out from here and there and the other. You know, there are times where I think that people, you may want to boost, right? You may, or, you know, I don't like to say boost. I like to say support, you know, like support your immune system with,
perfect,
you know, with more vitamin C or whatever. If you feel like you're getting a cold and you can do a therapeutic dose or whatever, something like that. But yes, generally, I think that like eat your food that's nutrient dense, that has all the vitamins and minerals that you need in it. And it's like ready for your body to absorb.
Yeah, I mean, nature provides, and that's another thing when I work with these women is that they're saying things like, "Oh, all of these gut supplements that I used to take, I no longer have to take anymore because my
Yeah.
body is just doing what it's supposed to do."
Yep, exactly. Exactly. Um, thank you, Lauren. This has been amazing. I just want you to kind of tell
Thank
everybody,
you.
you know, where they can find you, anything interesting you have coming up that we should be looking forward to, all your things.
Yeah, well, I'm very, very active on Instagram. One day I saw that you had a YouTube channel. Congrats. That's
Thank-
so awesome. It takes so much time to do these things. And I know a lot of work goes behind it. And so that's been I'm not there yet, but I hope to get there. But yeah, this week I have a lot of content coming on my Instagram about, reverse dieting, macros versus calories, what's the macros, meal plans, intuitive eating, what's the difference, what's right for me, and just really providing a nice introduction for people when it comes to that. And I'll create, Instagram guides so that it's all in one kind of central location for people. But yeah, Instagram is probably the best place to find me. And then there's links and things from there. So it's just at lauren.irick, IRICK. And that's it.
Great. That's awesome. That's awesome. Does anybody have any final questions? I've kept her on for way too long. She's got to get back up to the beach. So it's beach time, girl. It's beach time for you, and it's almost dance time for me. But anyone have questions, comments, concerns? You can always put stuff in the comments. I'm going to put this up on my feed today, so people can ask comments there or questions there, and I'll get them over to Lauren, and whatever we need. And another one, because I want to get into the whole counting macros thing with you.
Yeah, I would love that. And I think it would also be fun just to have a discussion too about, in the beginning when we talked about that it's okay to have curves, right? And really embracing that was a big thing in bodybuilding is it's yeah, it's cool that you can change your body, but what does the fullest expression of your body look like and what's actually healthy for you and that isn't in this box of what society thinks. Really just embrace, I think I'm a thin person, but I'm never going to be like a ballerina. I don't have that type of physique. Just some people, there's people that are thin and it's well, you're not going to have this big swimmer's build or a boxer's build or whatever it might be. So it's all about working with and embracing what you have.
Working with what the universe gave you, God gave you, whatever you want to think. Yes, your mama, whatever your mama gave.
Yeah, it would be so. I mean, I think that would be a really, interest. That's so many. Yeah, I mean, I spent a long time kind of fighting that, and my whole life changed when I embraced this is me and this is my body and this is what feels good and switching on to that love and appreciation. So yeah, I would love to do anything, anytime. I really appreciate you having me on here.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Lauren, go enjoy the beach, have fun.
Thank you.
Mexico, and we'll see you later.
All right, bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.